When you decide you want to move to Italy, there is a lot of information that you can find on the internet to do with the process of moving to Italy, the bureaucracy, the steps that you need to take to make your dream an absolute reality. However, not many people will tell you about what I consider to be the most fundamental aspect of all concerning your forthcoming move to Italy, and that is your mindset. Your mindset is the one thing that is going to make the biggest difference to the experience that you have once you actually start living here in Italy. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you some personal tips that have helped me in the 6 years that I have been living here in South Italy so far, and I think can definitely help you so that once you actually arrive here in Italy, you actually have a much better experience. So my first tip concerns other people, because one thing that I have learned through my own personal experience is that everyone is going to have an opinion about your decision to move to Italy. It can be good and it can be bad. Generally speaking, in online expat communities, it tends to be viewed rather negatively when people talk about moving to Italy, because a lot of people here have had quite bitter experiences, and so they want to make sure that any newbies planning to move to Italy are prepared, shall we say, in inverted commas, for those kinds of experiences. And then you're going to have the positive, of course, reactions where people are like amazed, excited for you, really, really happy that you're making your dream a reality. And then you're going to have people in the middle who don't really give you either good or bad opinions. They just sit very neutrally, they watch, they observe, they never comment. This is life, and you're going to attract opinions, judgment, observations from everybody, every which way that you turn. And so the first thing you need to remember is that other people don't matter. And I talk about this a lot in my season 1 finale podcast episode, which I'll link up here, 40 lessons at 40. And I really dive a bit deeper into this as to why, you shouldn't really care what other people think. Now, this is not an easy topic, an easy aspect of life at all. Like, I've always been a little bit aware of other people's opinions, and at times I've definitely taken them personally. But as I've gotten older, like I turned 41 yesterday, I realised that other people just simply are so fickle, and their opinions can change from one day to the next. Their entire characters can change from one day to the next. Why on earth would I let somebody else's opinion, judgment, whatever it may be, stop me from following my dreams? Like, you just shouldn't. And so you need to find a way to manage the opinions that you're going to attract. I would say, first of all, that if you are wanting to ask questions, general questions about life in Italy, be prepared for the reaction you will get from online expat communities. A lot of people will downplay your dreams of opening businesses here or of finding a job here. You need to kind of take those comments with a pinch of salt. If there is any kind of solid advice, tips and advice of how you could actually make it possible, of course, take those. But for the majority part, you're just going to be releasing a lot of what people have to say to you. This is human nature. As humans, we like to feel in a way that we are helping others. But the thing with advice, and I always say this, you should take advice from people who are living the life that you want to lead. Yes, these people might be living in Italy, but if they are not working, or if they are not running a business, or if they have not achieved the things that you want to achieve here, I really don't think you should listen to those people, because as I have learned in my 6 years here, no two people's journeys will ever be the same. All of the negativity that I kind of received from online expat communities when I first started asking questions about moving to Italy, I didn't encounter any of that at the very beginning. Like, for the first 4 years of my time here in South Italy, my bureaucracy was sorted out okay. I didn't have any problems finding a job. In fact, I moved here with a job all ready to go. And so you do have to take these things with a pinch of salt. Of course, the longer I've spent here, I've started to encounter some difficulties. Like when I moved here to Palermo, I had to wait 6 months for my residency to be changed. But that, unfortunately, is kind of like a region-dependent issue, because every region, every part of Italy kind of operates to its own rule book. So you learn that the longer you spend here. But essentially, if I'd listened to all of that negativity very, very early on in my journey and decided, you know what, maybe this is going to be just too difficult, I'm not going to do it, I would not be sitting here now. So you really and truly have to really take what people say with a pinch of salt and not worry so much what people have to say to you about your move here, and just not worry about people in general. Like, so many of us hold ourselves back because we want the approval of other people, or we want people to pat us on the back and tell us we're making the right decision. Generally speaking, that doesn't happen. Let me tell you, I'll give you an example, my Instagram account. I see all the people that view my stories, and then I see the people who actually go onto my post and like it and comment. And often they're very different. I have people that just watch what I'm doing silently. And then I have people who are a real part of my community and will like and comment and make their support known. That's life, isn't it? Those silent people watching might be jealous, or maybe they are wishing that they were living this life, or maybe they're, I don't know, sussing out the competition, whatever it may be. Those other people though, who are very vocal with their support, they are the people that I want to cherish and hold on to, because I realise they genuinely value what I do. And this is life. You know, there'll be people who really support you and give you advice and want you to do well. Those are the people you need to hold on to. There'll be people that just watch what you're doing, don't help you, don't give you any advice, just very neutral. You don't need to worry about those people. And then you have people who are just downright negative and will tell you that your decision is wrong. Don't worry about those people. So that's it, first and foremost. You need to get your kind of relationship with other people clear from the start. Everyone is going to have an opinion. You just need to accept that. And you just need to take the advice that you want to take, preferably from people who have walked in the shoes that you want to walk in. This is key. The second tip I would give to you regarding your mindset is to embrace the journey that you are on. No two people live the exact same lifestyle, and so essentially what you need to do is to embrace the fact that the journey you are on is yours alone. Don't look to other people and compare your progress. Don't look around and think that you should be somewhere different to where you're at. You can use the YouTube and the internet as a source of inspiration. One day I want to have X, one day I want to be doing Y, of course. But don't let those comparisons hold you back from your own journey. Everyone's journey is unique, and that is the one thing that I want you to remember. So many people, for example, learning a language. When you're moving to Italy, you do need to learn Italian. So many people will turn to YouTube or to the internet and read stories of people who have learned Italian in X number of months or X number of days, and make themselves feel like they are inadequate because it's taking them longer, or because they are struggling to really grasp the language. It's not true. When it comes to language learning, as an example, we are all completely unique and different. No two people will learn a language in the same way, and people will pick up language in different ways and at different times. And this also, I think, is age dependent, because the older you are, generally speaking, the more responsibilities you have. You're working, maybe you have a family. It's sometimes difficult to carve out the time necessary to really study and learn a language. And also I think that, you know, when you're a child and a student, a teenager, you are in that mindset of learning. Every single day, that is your environment. You're in an academic setting. And so it naturally becomes a little bit easier to study and to remember what you're learning. But once you step out of that and you're in the real world and you've got real world responsibilities and distractions, it's more difficult sometimes to actually take yourself back to those student days and to focus and study and learn. It takes practice, it takes dedication and commitment. And so don't compare yourself to other people. I've said it in so many videos. Everyone's life is different. People have different amounts of free time available to them. They have different styles and options available to them, different methods of learning a language available. Do what's best for you. This is for language learning. This is for setting up your life here in Italy. Don't follow the blind sheep. Take the path that is best for you and take inspiration from those around you and from what they're doing, but don't let it distract you from your very own unique journey. I think another thing to really be aware of is that you have to be realistic about your life here in Italy. You will always be with you. This is a really famous expression that people quote, and it is the truest thing that I've ever heard. You can travel to 1,000,001 different countries, but you are never going to escape you. And so you need to be realistic about your experiences here in Italy. If you think moving to Italy is going to solve all of your problems, is going to make your life that little bit easier, you need to understand it probably isn't. If anything, it's going to highlight and accentuate those existing problems because you are in a brand new environment and setting and there is no sense of familiarity. So just be aware of this. Italy is not a problem solver or fixer. At the beginning, it can make you feel like you're in this daydream because of course, everyone goes through the honeymoon phase. But as you start to settle a bit more into life here, and you develop a routine and things maybe sometimes become a little bit mundane, those existing problems start to surface and sometimes they feel even more intense than they may have felt back in your previous country. So just remember this. Be realistic about the life that you expect to lead here in Italy. Be aware of the negative aspects of life here, the pitfalls, the things that might drive you crazy like bureaucracy or disorganization, for example. But you have to be prepared for this. Don't just believe the fairy tale images of life here in Italy. I've said it to you in practically every video that I've ever recorded on this channel. Italy is not a romantic daydream. Italy is real life. It is problematic, it is beautiful, it is complicated, it is troubled, it is life-changing, it is the most complex country you could probably ever choose to live in, but I promise you it's going to teach you some of the best lessons you could ever ask to learn. And so this is it really, you have to balance this. You have to come here and have a realistic expectation of your life here. And so I think if you can do that, that definitely helps with your mindset because a lot of people don't. A lot of people choose to believe the fairy tale of life here, and then that is why I think a lot of people become bitter later on because life here doesn't meet their initial expectations. So do your research and look at it from a realistic point of view, not from the point of view of a tourist who is just coming here for a 2-week holiday, because those kinds of expectations and experiences are going to be very different compared to those that you will have when you live here for an extended period of time. My next piece of advice to you is to find something to fill your time here. Now, this really depends on why you're moving to Italy. If you're planning to retire here in Italy, which I know a lot of you are, judging from some of the comments on previous videos, you need to make sure that you've got a plan for how you're going to live your life here in Italy. Because once the initial excitement has died down of setting up your new life here, you're going to have this empty void to fill. So you might decide that you want to travel quite a bit whilst you're here in Italy and explore all of the different towns and cities, which is a wonderful thing to do. You might decide that you want to take up a hobby and integrate yourself more into the local community. You might decide that you want to take on a project, maybe a renovation project, or I don't know, like some kind of agricultural gardening project, whatever it may be. You need to come up with a plan for what you're going to do in your free time once you're living here. And you need to have some kind of a hobby or interest that you can turn to. This essentially is what has made my personal experience here so much better. Starting this YouTube channel in 2021 absolutely changed the game for me because prior to that, we obviously had the lockdown. I really struggled for like the first year and a half to feel fully settled here as well. So once I really began this YouTube concept, I found myself once again, and it has absolutely changed my perspective of my experiences here, my life here, and my view of Italy as a whole. So this is what I encourage you to do. Find something that you love. Come here with an existing hobby that you can continue. But whatever you do, don't come here and just kind of see how life unfolds. Because when you have those difficult days, you need something that you can turn to that's going to give you structure, it's going to give you support, it's going to help you to feel better. That could be a good book that you read, it could be a podcast you listen to, it could be a painting that you're working on. You need something that's going to distract you from the challenges that you will undoubtedly face once you start living here in Italy. So be clear on that. Make sure that you have outside hobbies, interests, things that you can turn to, that you don't neglect or abandon once you actually move here to Italy, but that you actually grow and flourish, and who knows what you do with them once you're here. And this also applies whether you are coming here to work or to study or whatever stage of life you're at. You must have hobbies and interests when you're living here. It's super important. It's important even when you're in your own country, but especially when you move to other countries, because life here can sometimes feel very lonely, very challenging, depending on who you move here with. And if you don't have other things that can occupy you, it can make it really, really difficult and a real challenge on your mindset. You need something that's going to distract you from any kind of stresses or any kind of feelings of anxiety or loneliness. And so this is what I recommend to you. Make sure that you develop an existing hobby once you're here, or you find something that you can do to really fill your time if you have any free time available. And also, I want to say to you, never forget your why. I bang on about this a lot and I have spoken about it in many other videos, but your why is the single most important thing that you will fall back on once you start living here in Italy. You need to have a strong reason and motivation for living in this country. It's got to extend beyond the superficial areas of food, weather, people. You've got to have something deeper, because in those challenging moments that you will undoubtedly face, you need to have something that is going to hold you here, connect you here, see you through those darker days. And if you do not have a strong enough why, if it is based on something really superficial, that is when you might crack and decide to just leave this country altogether. And I've seen this happen in expat groups. So make sure that you have a strong why. And if you have to, write it down to remind yourself. But you need to have a strong connection to wanting to move to Italy. A strong reason as to why this is the next best thing for you to do. And this alone is going to help your mindset so much, because when you have struggles and difficulties, you have a reason to want to see through those and actually overcome them. I will see you in the next video.